I'll read it again. Now I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you be in agreement and that there be no divisions among you, but that you unite in the same mind and same purpose. Pardon me. I was told that I make the choir nervous when I have one heel teetering over the edge, so don't worry. Anyways, this reminds me of when people make a statement using a question like, isn't it a beautiful day out? They're not asking if you think it's a beautiful day. They're saying it's a beautiful day. Or, don't you love my new haircut? They're really not leaving any wiggle room there. You really can't say no at that point without sounding really awkward and terrible. And that's kind of like this statement. Now, you'll be in agreement, right? You will. Yeah. That there will be no division. It's kind of like when your mom says, do you want to do dishes? It doesn't matter if you want to do them, you're doing them. But division has been one of our strong points as a people who follow Christ. It's actually what we excel best at, even though it's what we strive not to do. Since the very beginning, there's been division. So I grew up in Abbotsford. I was born in Edmonton, but my family moved there just in time for me to enter kindergarten. So I did most of my growing up, as much growing up as I did in Abbotsford. And I've always been part of the United Church. I've always been keen into it. And believe it or not, when you grow up in a relatively fundamental Bible belt as a United Church geek, you're not always the cool kid. I distinctly remember in elementary school, a big question was, how old are you? Do you have a brother or a sister, and are you Christian? It was just one of those things that people asked to get to know each other. And then in high school it got more complicated, like, do you speak in tongues? As if that's just something that everybody learns once they're of a certain age. Or did you know the pit is open and the devil is on the rise? Did you know that? These were things that happened in my everyday life. And of course, as the nice, quiet United Churcher, and believe me, I was really quiet as a younger person, younger than now, I know. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond, because I knew that the way I expressed my faith was true. And the people I was talking with, they seemed to know that the way they expressed their faith was true. So how do the two come together? How do you both uphold your values and beliefs, but still meet together and have that commonality of Christ? So Abbotsford is a funny place. Chilliwack isn't actually all that much different, Bible Belt church-wise. And I know that some of our Sunday school kids might not have the exact same questions I get, but they get similar responses. Like, how can you go to that church? My mom says that's not a real church. Or I hear that you guys believe in gay people, as if it's some kind of movement or rebellion or something, instead of just accepting people. It's still a reality, are you doing it right? And Paul, at the very beginning, starts writing to the people in Corinth, saying, guys, come together. You aren't just followers of Crispus and Gaius and Cephas, that's Peter. Remember, Cephas is Peter, so we've got Paul and Peter and a few other leaders. Yes, you follow them, but ultimately it's Christ you follow. Don't forget that part. It doesn't matter if you're Anglican, United Presbyterian, Alliance, Southside, whatever that is. It's Christ that comes above and beyond all of that. In Paul's day, when he writes a letter to the Corinthians, it's not like they all gathered together like this and said, all right, I've got a letter from Paul, I'm going to read to everybody. This was a letter that would be passed from house church to house church. Maybe by the same messenger, maybe by other means. But there would have been multiple sites within the same town. And each house church would have done things their way. It could have been a cultural thing, it could have been a financial availability thing, or a preference thing. However that came up, there have always been different groups with different beliefs within Christianity. And there have always been arguments over it. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's in? Who's out? Not that different today. And consistency wasn't even a factor in the game until the year 325. So for you history buffs, this is cool stuff. For everyone else, it's interesting stuff. In 325, Emperor Constantine, so he's the first Constantine, bumps his head in battle and has this vision of Christianity uniting the kingdom. Of course, our Christian folks think, yeah, how can God and Jesus not unite the kingdom? Constantine is thinking, oh, politically, this is great. He's not necessarily thinking as a person of faith, but as a leader of a land. So Constantine in 325 brings together as many bishops and popes and high church people in one place to talk about what Christianity is. Apparently he invited almost 2,000 people, and they ended up with somewhere around 300. And they met for months. I go to the regional council meeting every now and then. By every now and then, I mean once a year, and that's 4 days long. By then, I don't want to see any of those people again for another year. And I'm exhausted. I couldn't imagine sitting in a room for 3 months, wrestling over every bit of Christianity. Because until now, they didn't really talk about what it meant to have Jesus as a divine figure and God as a divine figure. So that's one of the things they sorted out, is that both Jesus and God are totally divine and both eternal. So check that one off. They also came to the conclusion that Gnosticism, which starts with a G, if you're looking it up, Gnosticism, is a heresy. That's a deviation away from Christ's teachings. They came up with a lot of things. And one of the things they produced was the Nicene Creed. And that's still around today. You can still check it out. And the wording is very particular because some of the debates they had were very particular. And that was kind of the first go-around of bringing some kind of consistency in theology into realization. This had nothing to do with church practices even. So how to do communion wasn't exactly prescribed in this. There were still people doing all kinds of sorts of different things, but at least there was a document saying, all right, Jesus is this, God is this, the Holy Spirit is this, and those are good. And this is still without a canon. So a canon is the scripture we have now. And that took a long time to be established because it was the stuff that ended up being used the most. But during the Council of Nicaea, during these early days when Paul was kicking around, there wasn't a set document where people can go through, oh yes, I see in the Gospel of Luke, this is how we do communion. And in the Gospel of Matthew, this is how we do communion, so we should do it this way. There wasn't that. So consistency was just not a thing. And yet Paul is calling for unity. Because to me, that's the opposite of division, is unity. And I tend to think United Church is a good stab at it. Church, by definition, which is made up of people, as an institution, is flawed. Because it's made up of people. People aren't perfect. No matter how hard we try, we're going to make mistakes. And that's even if you're one person. Then imagine gathering tons of people together. Of course it's not going to be perfect. Of course things are going to be overlooked. But Paul is urging us to try. Paul is urging us to find some unity, not just within our denomination, but within Christ. I am very proud to be a United Church person. I love this church. That being said, I also know that this church is like any other in that it is run by people and has institutional flaws like any other. But I think it's time for me, a recovering Abbotsfordian, and some of the rest of us, to claim Christianity wholeheartedly. So in elementary school and high school, when I was asked the question, are you Christian? I would say, yes, but. Yes, but I go to the United Church. Yes, but I hang out with gay people, and they're a blast. Yes, but whatever it is you're thinking Christianity is, that's not what I believe. I think it's time to get rid of that but. Time to get rid of the qualifier and just say, I am a Christian. And to be able to acknowledge that when other people say that, even if they believe so differently than us that it angers us, even then, to recognize the Christ within them and let them recognize the Christ within us. I'm not saying you have to agree with them. In fact, I'm saying that you should disagree if you disagree. But disagree with openness and respect. Because who knows? They might teach us something and we might teach them something. So, confession time. I sometimes watch Family Guy. It's a mildly inappropriate cartoon. Well, the inappropriate level varies from episode to episode, but every now and then they depict heaven. And one of the times they depict heaven, they have a huge lineup outside the Golden Gates, and St. Peter has a list, and he says, all right, thanks for coming today. It turns out the right answer is Judaism. Judaism is the right answer. Everyone else, please go to the left. And it's so true, right? Like we all hope we have the right answer, but we can't know. And that's where the faith comes in. All we can do is live faithfully, to live the best way we can. And I tend to think, when Jesus replies to the Pharisees who ask, what is the best commandment? And he says, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. That's it. If we have faith, if we follow that with humility, with hope, then surely we will meet Christ in our neighbor. We will meet Christ in other Christians from other denominations even. We will meet Christ everywhere we go. And the more we meet Christ, the more we can say proudly, I am Christian. So, I encourage you this week, once, just once. If you're feeling feisty, you can go more than once. To say out loud to someone else, I am Christian. Not in a way that is threatening or saying, my way is right, Not in a way that says you have to come to church, although please feel free to add that part. In a way that is just identifying who you are and how you live. They'll know we are Christian by our love. Amen.